Europe stands at a crossroads. Unless 7 urgent threats are addressed now, 2025 could mark a turning point for the worse. This isn't just another headline, this is a final warning. We've identified 7 critical dangers pushing the continent toward disaster. From your home's energy to the economy's core, every aspect of life is at risk. We'll break down each threat, showing exactly what's at stake. The final point is the most crucial. Don't miss it. Let's dive in. Europe's first and most pressing crisis is its dangerous dependence on imported energy, a vulnerability that has been building for decades, often overlooked until it's too late. Every time a light switch is flipped or a home is heated, it's a reminder of how much daily life relies on a fragile, interconnected global supply chain that can be disrupted in an instant. When major suppliers decide to cut off energy, the shockwaves hit Europe immediately. Prices skyrocket, families are forced to make tough choices, and entire industries are pushed to the brink of collapse. This isn't just a temporary setback or a random event, it's the direct result of years of strategic missteps, short-term thinking, and a failure to secure long-term energy independence. Europe's energy lifeline is tightly controlled by foreign powers, giving them enormous leverage over European policy, economics, and even the continent's political stability. The transition to renewable energy sources is underway, but it's a slow, expensive process. For now, Europe remains caught between old dependencies and an uncertain, still developing future. Key industries like steel, chemicals, and manufacturing simply can't survive the wild swings in energy costs, leading to shutdowns, layoffs, and a loss of vital economic activity. Each closure doesn't just mean lost jobs. It weakens the very backbone of Europe's economy, eroding its ability to compete and innovate on the world stage. The old belief in cheap, reliable global energy has vanished, replaced by anxiety and uncertainty about the future. Now, as the crisis deepens, Europe's leaders scramble for solutions, holding emergency summits, debating urgent policies, and searching for any way to regain control as the clock relentlessly ticks down. Every single day of delay increases Europe's vulnerability to global shocks, making the situation more precarious and the solutions more difficult. This crisis doesn't discriminate. It hits every household, every business, from the wealthiest city centers to the most vulnerable communities, undermining both economic prosperity and national security. Without true energy security, Europe's social and political stability is at risk, fueling unrest and uncertainty across the continent. The energy chokehold is not a distant threat, it's immediate, it's visible, and with every passing day, it's tightening its grip. Europe must act decisively and urgently, or it will face consequences that could reshape its future for generations. This is just the first domino. If it falls, the chain reaction could be devastating, with impacts rippling through every aspect of European life. The time for complacency is over. Europe stands at a crossroads, and the choices made now will determine its fate for years to come. The second threat is political fragmentation. The EU appears united, but deep divisions paralyze decision-making. National interests often override collective action, especially in crises. Disagreements over budgets, migration, and foreign policy stall progress. This fuels nationalism and erodes trust in the EU. As unity fades, adversaries exploit these cracks, using divide-and-conquer tactics. The requirement for unanimous decisions leads to gridlock and slow responses. Europe's rivals benefit from a fragmented bloc. The world's biggest challenges, climate, security, economic shocks, are too big for any one country. Without unity, Europe's power and prosperity erode. The dream of a strong union clashes with national interests. Only renewed purpose and compromise can reverse this trend. Division leaves Europe weak in a world that respects only strength. The third crisis facing Europe is unsustainable debt, a problem that has been quietly building for years, but now threatens to erupt into a full-blown emergency. Years of cheap borrowing and easy access to credit have left many European nations with massive financial obligations, piling up debts that now seem impossible to repay. As interest rates rise, the cost of servicing this debt climbs higher, making it increasingly difficult for governments to keep up with payments and avoid financial strain. More and more tax revenue is being funneled into interest payments, leaving less money for essential public services like healthcare, education, and infrastructure, services that citizens rely on every day. Governments now face agonizing choices: either cut vital services, which can spark public outrage, or raise taxes, which risks stifling economic growth and deepening public frustration. In some countries, the national debt has ballooned to levels that exceed their entire annual economic output, creating a precarious situation that is difficult to reverse. The danger is real. A single government default could set off a chain reaction, triggering a continent-wide banking crisis and sending shockwaves through the global economy. The European Central Bank has stepped in to prop up the system, providing emergency support and buying time. But everyone knows this is only a temporary fix, not a lasting solution. High debt levels stifle investment and innovation, discouraging entrepreneurs and businesses from taking risks and dragging down the continent's future prospects for growth and prosperity. The ECB is caught in a dilemma: raise interest rates to fight inflation and risk a wave of bankruptcies, or keep rates low and allow inflation to spiral out of control. The debt burden is a ticking time bomb at the heart of Europe's economy, threatening to explode if not diffused with bold and coordinated action. Without decisive reforms and a clear plan to reduce debt, the risk of a financial meltdown grows with each passing day, casting a shadow over Europe's stability. Europe's future prosperity and the hopes of its next generation depend on breaking this dangerous debt spiral and restoring confidence in the continent's financial future. The fuse is burning fast, and time is running out for Europe to act. The fourth threat is a demographic crisis. Europe's population is shrinking and aging. Birth rates are far below replacement, and the workforce is dwindling. Labor shortages hit healthcare, construction, and tech, stalling growth. Fewer workers mean less innovation and tax revenue, straining social systems. The welfare state relies on many young workers supporting retirees, but the pyramid is inverting. Soon, a small workforce will support a huge retired population. Unsustainable by any measure. Governments face hard choices: raise taxes, cut benefits, or push retirement ages higher. An aging society becomes risk-averse, losing its competitive edge. Immigration is often proposed as a fix, but it brings social and political challenges. Integrating newcomers is complex and fuels further division. The empty cradle is a silent crisis, but its impact will be loud and lasting. Without a growing, dynamic population, Europe's future dims. This slow-motion disaster threatens the continent's very foundation. The fifth warning is over-regulation, choking Europe's economy. Excessive bureaucracy stifles innovation and makes starting or running a business a nightmare. Entrepreneurs face endless paperwork and costly compliance, discouraging new ventures. Even established companies struggle under constant regulatory changes. The precautionary principle delays new technologies, causing Europe to miss out on global advances. The result: brain drain and business drain, as talent and investment flee to more agile markets. High compliance costs make European products less competitive worldwide. The system prioritizes process over progress, rewarding lobbying over innovation. Without radical simplification and a shift toward embracing risk, Europe risks becoming a museum, not a marketplace. In a fast-changing world, speed and agility are essential. Europe must cut the red tape or fall further behind. The sixth crisis is Europe's weak defense. Decades of underfunding left militaries small, outdated, and reliant on the US. Recent conflicts exposed shallow stockpiles and unprepared defense industries. Europe's inability to defend itself creates a power vacuum, inviting aggression and hybrid threats. Rivals see a rich but divided continent unwilling to protect itself. US support is no longer guaranteed as American priorities shift. Building credible defense takes decades of investment and political will. Peace and security come at a price. Europe must be willing to pay it. Without strong defense, prosperity and democracy rest on shaky ground. Europe's achievements are at risk if it cannot guarantee its own security. The time to rebuild is now. Delay could have catastrophic consequences. The seventh and perhaps most critical threat facing Europe is the failure to adapt to the relentless advance of climate change. While the world debates emissions and future targets, the reality is that the consequences are already here. reshaping lives and landscapes across the continent. Europe has made significant strides in cutting emissions, investing in renewable energy and setting ambitious climate goals, but in focusing so much on prevention, leaders have often overlooked the urgent need to prepare for the impacts that are already unfolding. Heat waves, floods and droughts are no longer distant threats. They are battering the continent right now, disrupting daily life and putting millions at risk. Each disaster brings not only heartbreak and loss, but also billions in damages, straining national budgets and threatening the safety and well-being of entire communities. Much of Europe's infrastructure was built for a milder, more predictable climate. Now it is dangerously outdated, unable to withstand the new extremes. As some regions become uninhabitable, internal migration is rising. This movement of people could spark social tensions and political crises, testing the unity of nations. Food shortages, ruined harvests, and economic shocks from climate disasters threaten to trigger even wider instability, affecting everything from jobs to the price of daily essentials. Adaptation is no longer optional. Upgrading infrastructure, developing drought-resistant crops, and redesigning cities for resilience are urgent priorities that can't wait. The financial cost of adaptation is enormous, but the price of inaction, measured in lives, livelihoods, and lost futures, will be far greater. Climate change acts as a threat multiplier, intensifying every other challenge Europe faces, from mounting debt to deepening social divisions. Even if all emissions stop today, the momentum of past pollution means more warming is inevitable. The effects will continue to unfold for decades. Europe must urgently prepare for a hotter, more volatile future, where extreme weather becomes the new normal and old certainties no longer apply. Focusing only on prevention is no longer enough. Adaptation must become a central pillar of Europe's response to climate change. The clock is ticking. Adaptation is the ultimate deadline, and every delay increases the risks for future generations. The time to act is now. Europe's future depends on how quickly and boldly it can adapt to nature's fury. Seven threats, one continent at a crossroads. Energy, unity, debt, demographics, regulation, defense, and climate. Each crisis feeds the next. 2025 could be a year of reckoning if Europe doesn't change course. The window for action is closing fast. Only courage, unity, and decisive action can pull Europe back from the brink. What happens next depends on the choices made today. Thank you for watching. Let's demand solutions and stay informed.